Sri Mayapur Dham is a holy place. Millions of pilgrims throng this area of northeast India every year. People come here to live, offer their prayers, chant, and meditate. For centuries, these few hundred square miles of land have been worshipped as sacred. The rivers supply a constant flow of water, and the temples are always filled with songs and offerings to God. To a Westerner newly arrived, the sudden peacefulness is a startling change from the world of pollution, crime, and anxiety. But however beautiful and tranquil the scenery, you soon discover that a sacred place is actually made holy by the presence of the saintly people who have resided there in the past and who are living there in the present. Only a great person can transform a material place into a spiritual realm. And you can't be in Mayapur for more than a few moments before hearing the name of the great personality who first made it so famous, Sri Chaitanya. Considered to be an incarnation of God himself, Sri Chaitanya launched a vigorous religious movement in the 16th century that spread rapidly throughout all of India. Specifically, Sri Chaitanya recommended the chanting of the great mantra for deliverance, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Chaitanya revived this method of chanting God's name to reawaken a person's dormant love of God. He emphasized the point that this chanting is the essential teaching of the more than 5,000-year-old Vedic literatures, and he predicted that this form of meditation on God would eventually spread to every town and village in the world. This prediction has been fulfilled by the Hare Krishna movement, which was brought to the West by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Omniscient. He knows everything. But the living being does not know actually what is the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
It is interesting that this Krishna consciousness has been considered by some to be a new religious cult. But there can be no doubt, after visiting Sridham Mayapur, that this spiritual path has been alive for thousands of years. Previously unknown to the West, an unbroken chain of acharyas, or great spiritual teachers, have handed down the ancient secrets of self-realization from master to disciple throughout the ages. Fulfilling Lord Chaitanya's prophecy that Krishna consciousness would spread to every corner of the world. And it was this 19th century acharya, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who had the vision of a great spiritual city which would rise up from the land and attract the entire world to the activities and philosophy of Sri Chaitanya. Standing on the balcony of this house, Srila Bhaktivinoda looked across the river Jalangi toward the birth site of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and predicted that one day there would be a shining city filled with devotees of Lord Chaitanya from all over the world. He wrote, "If it is your heart's desire to cross over the ocean of material life, and if your mind's great pleasure is in tasting the nectar of the holy name, and if your soul thirsts to sport in the ocean of loving emotions of the Lord, then you should immediately make your home in the transcendental village of Sri Mayapur." The atmosphere of Sri Mayapur is made even more spiritual by the sacred river Ganges, which winds its way through every part of this land. Crossing the sacred Ganges, a modern pilgrim feels taken back in time as the boatmen maneuver their pansis across the water, just as they have done for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Sri Chaitanya himself must have crossed this river innumerable times on a boat just like this, with his devotees chanting all around him. Arriving in the nearby town of Navadvip, reminders of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his teachings are seen and heard everywhere. Everyone greets each other with traditional folded hands, pranams, and the by now familiar Hare Krishna, Hare Bol, which means chant the names of Krishna, or God. Everyone here seems to find a mutual benefit in chanting these names of God. Of course, there are innumerable names for God in India as everywhere else, and all of them are considered equally good by the followers of Sri Chaitanya. But it is the 16 words, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, that are described in the Vedic scriptures as the most effective means for attaining spiritual perfection in this age. They call it the age of Kali, an age in which people quarrel even over trifling things. And therefore, Sri Chaitanya recommended that a common platform could be found in Sankirtan, the congregational chanting of the holy names of the Lord. He urged that people hold meetings to glorify the Lord in their respective languages, accompanying their chanting with melodious music and dancing. He assured his followers that practice of this Sankirtan would bring spiritual perfection without any of the efforts of undergoing rigid methods of yoga or asceticism. Sri Chaitanya made this simple process available to everyone without restriction, regardless of birth or social standing. Because of his attack on the caste system, Sri Chaitanya's revolutionary movement met with resistance from the incumbent priests, who enlisted the aid of the government itself in repressing the Sankirtan movement. They disrupted meetings, smashed musical instruments, and forbade the congregational chanting. Undaunted, Sri Chaitanya rallied his followers in a midnight procession to the house of the Chand Qazi, who was the local magistrate of the district. The Qazi was forced to hear the philosophy of Sri Chaitanya, and by the great saint's diplomacy, logic, and spiritual purity, the Qazi not only allowed the Sankirtan movement to continue, but he himself became one of Chaitanya's disciples. Sri Chaitanya showed that this is not a dry philosophy, but one of great life, of chanting, dancing, feasting, and serving in innumerable ways. And the key to Sri Chaitanya's philosophy is hearing.
যার পাদ পদ্মে জলবিন্দু দিলে মাত্র সেই ধ্যানে সাক্ষাতে খেদিতে আছে পাত্র.
Seeing through sound is the most profound spiritual experience for anyone who comes to Sridham Mayapur. Everywhere and at all times, the air is filled with spiritual sound vibrations. Almost every temple here has its own 24-hour-a-day congregational chanting, and one can hear these sounds traveling across the fields from every direction. And one can always find a place where spiritual philosophy is being spoken, either in small groups or large gatherings. As devotees travel from one pilgrimage site to another, they chant, listen, and share spiritual realizations with each other. There can be no other place like Mayapur in the world. It is a unique spiritual land where every blade of grass seems to be an invitation to experience genuine spiritual life. A visitor can come here with many different ideas about spiritual life, but he cannot leave here without a taste of real spiritual nectar.
I really love it here. It's nice. I wasn't expecting such an atmosphere here, as a matter of fact. But it's really nice, Took me really by surprise.
It's such nice and pure spiritual atmosphere that we don't feel like going, but we are not that lucky to be here forever.
It's a heavenly place.
This trip has been such a wonderful experience for me that I couldn't really describe it completely for you.
Sridham Mayapur is just like actually the spiritual world, because the atmosphere is very much surcharged with transcendental bliss and knowledge.
And every year of this time, I must come here.
It's been very, very nice.
And everyone is so enthused and happy. I mean, even the residents of Mayapur who've been living here all their life, they have never seen such ecstatic devotees from all over the world before. And they're very happy, and they want the devotees to come back again and again and again.
In Mayapur, you begin to realize that a holy place is not just a collection of brick and stone memorials commemorating some events long past. Sri Mayapur Chandrodaya is like the moon, which gradually grows until full. Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself said, "In the matter of staying here, one should not think of it as a material place, or disbelieve its glories, thinking it to be an ordinary place. Nothing in Mayapur Dham is material but the consciousness of the conditioned souls who think it so. It is eternally manifest as the abode of the holy name. Therefore, we humbly request everyone to cast aside all their mundane conceptions, raise their arms and sing.